We have two Cartesian equations, x equals 2 minus the absolute value of t and y equals t plus 1. And it says graph it. I'm not quite sure why this is on the list, but we could literally graph it.
Well, it says find
It's
the...
already
No, it
graphed.
says it's already graphed.
It's already graphed.
No, but you graph it and then you go to the table.
Okay, so what it says, yeah, we got to, hold on you guys, I noticed it at the end of class, but please be quiet and refrain for just 1 second so I can finish doing this problem, and then we can call it a day. So I'm just going to literally graph the equation in the graphing calculator, and then we've got to figure out what values for t leave us in quadrant 3 is basically, I think that's what the question was asking. I kind of got it sidetracked when we were talking about it. All right, well, obviously I've got to go in here and change it, but I've got 0 to 360.
I got it.
So I'm going to change this. I think I'm in radian mode. Not that it matters when you're in parametric. We're not doing any quadratics or anything like that. So I think I need some negative t values because it goes from -6 to 6. So I'm going to start with, well, how can I figure that out? Well, one way to do that is let's just graph it first. I'm going to do like -10, or no, wait, let's do it exactly the way it is in the book. It's like -6 to 6. Okay? So when we graph it, that's what it looks like. -6 to 6. And what they want to know is how do you make it the graph, only graph in quadrant 3. So let's come back and look at this. So if I draw the graph on the, I don't want that, I want this. If I draw the graph, it kind of looks like this deal. And we want to know what values for t make it live in quadrant 3. So we're really interested in this portion right here, right? This is the portion that we're interested in. So in quadrant 3, what do we know about the x values?
It's between -6 and 6.
No. Listen to the question that I'm asking you guys carefully, okay? The x values are always negative, and the y values are negative.
Oh, sorry.
So in order to solve this thing algebraically, I mean, you could guess a check on your calculator, I suppose, if you want to. But what do we know? We know that x has to be negative. And a fancy way to say that would be 2 minus the absolute value of t is less than 0. Okay? And so then, I subtract 2 from both sides. So I get the absolute value of t is less than -2. But it's really the negative value of this. There's a little negative sign right here. So when I multiply both sides by the negative, and I kind of screwed up. I can't draw it on the board. Oh, there it goes. When I divide both sides by the negative sign, I get the absolute value of t has to be greater than +2. And then we'll come back to this plus or minus thing, right? Because the absolute value means it could be a positive t or a negative t. We'll talk about that in a second. We'll come back. This one, y also has to be negative, so t plus 1 has to be less than 0, or t has to be less than -1. Normally the way that you would write this would be -2 less than t less than 2 like that, right? Okay. Cheat a little bit and look at my graphing calculator. And I'm going to let my graphing calculator help me determine that. So I know that -1 is either the lower boundary or the upper boundary. So when I think in terms of a number, I might go from -2 to 1 or -1 to -2, because in parametric equations it could go backwards, right? So if I do something like -1 to -2, that probably won't work because, see how it's listed there? So I have to list it as -2 to -1 because that's the number line, right? The minimum value between the two would be -2 and 1. So now if I hit graph, what do you guys see? Nothing. The step's kind of big though, so let's make the step like 0.1. What quadrant is that? 4. So now what do I do?
Now you go back to the little window and you switch it up.
What if I do something like this? What if I say, what if I do like -6?
And -2.
Well, -6 goes way beyond that,
Yeah.
okay?
Right.
So where would I cut it off at?
-2.
Okay, let's try it and see. So she's saying if I maybe do something like this,
Yeah.
well, we already know what the answer is, but that's right. So now how do I justify that algebraically?
-6 is less than 2, which is less than -2.
Yeah, so which answer was that?
C.
C.